Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. Ease me, see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free flamethrower with every IT purchase with Picatinny rail adapter, so you can mount it to any standard AR-15, like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the flamethrower button to learn more and see me shooting a flamethrower, or click the URL in the video description below. And lastly, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now going over to the business part of the podcast, you have some good news. The iconic Mazda Miata, she's going to get a little bit more horsepower as they put a little bit of a bigger engine in it. Now this comes to us thanks to Motor1.com, specifically Adrian, who's a writer over there. And there you can see the iconic Mazda Miata in all of its glory, though personally I prefer the hardtop versus the soft top, but I can appreciate a fun little convertible. And they say specifically, quote, Mazda will put a bigger engine into the next Miata. Even better news, the manual gearbox is staying, aka the manual transmission, aka the third pedal, aka the only true way to drive any automobile. It's a rush like any other, or unlike any other rather, and to me you can't beat that feeling of downshifting into a corner at the track. It is pure euphoria, and if you have not had the opportunity yet, I highly recommend it because less than 30 cars are for sale in North America, or rather, grammatically correct, less than 30 new models of vehicles in North America are available for sale with the manual transmission option. I believe it is about 28 left. It's a, unfortunately, a dying breed, but I would argue the best. Now, diving into the article, they say, quote, people tend to criticize cars that have been around for many years, but the MX-5 is the exception. Although Mazda has been selling the ND Miata for a decade, you won't find many enthusiasts ready to move on to the next generation. It is crazy. That's been around for a decade. Some models of cars age more gracefully than others. It still looks pretty darn new. They've done, minor facelifts on this generation, but still looks pretty sharp. Not a big fan of, what is that? A mix between red and purple or something like that. Not a fan of the color, but the styling still looks pretty good. Now, they say, quote, it's understandable considering new cars tend to be larger, heavier, and in most cases without a clutch pedal, but don't fret, as the future Roadster will keep the analog recipe. Which, there's a myriad of reasons of why cars get bigger, heavier, more cumbersome. The government, they have to be safer every year. You have to have increased crumple zones, add 50 new airbags into the walls and ceilings everywhere. And, yes, it has to be, perfect with all the emissions crap. Or rather, your fleet emissions. So you can have one or two fun cars, but overall, mostly boring. And I would argue worse long-term for the environment, but I partially digress. They say General Manager of Design Division Makashi Nakahoma told Road & Track the intent to make the next-gen MX-5 even lighter. Ideally, Mazda wants to keep the current weight below 1,000 kilograms, which is America, so we're not going to use that, which translates to about 2,205 pounds. For reference, the lightest version of the current Miata tips the scales at 2,183 pounds. For Mazda's Japan-only 990 Special Edition, however, the car is equipped with a smaller 1.5-liter engine we won't get in the United States, which, that's fine, they can keep it. They say, quote, if you're tall and hoping for a more spacious cabin, it's unlikely to happen with the next generation, unless the engineers have a magic wand to improve the packaging without increasing the car's footprint. Nakayama says the Miata will remain a small car at less than 157 inches, or as the Europeans might say, 4 meters long. That tells us it's very roughly the same length as the ND, which measures 154 inches, or for the Europeans, 3.91 meters. Master Chief Technology Officer Rachioni Umishata revealed that the next MX-5 will skip turbocharging once again. Which, granted, thankfully this car has been around for so long, the aftermarket community is almost, I would say, on par with the plethora of aftermarket community for like the Honda Civic or getting to guns, the AR-15. There is so much aftermarket or third-party support for turbo kits for these things. It's okay, it doesn't come from the factory. Although, again, I think they're leaving money on the table. They could probably charge, I'd say, 5 to 10 grand more per vehicle if they had a trim level for a turbo from the factory. I feel like kind of like the Subaru BRZ. If you just have a factory option, people will buy and pay a premium for it. Even if, again, I admire them for having a naturally aspirated engine these days. And it's nice to have that because, again, that does increase the cost if you go turbo from the factory. But I still can't believe they don't have like a top tier trim level that would include it from the factory. Nevertheless, they say, quote, the naturally aspirated engine will be a new development compared to the 1.5 and 2-liter Skyactiv G engines found in the ND, recently described as, quote, ideal internal combustion engines. The Skyactiv Z will be a 4-cylinder, 2.5-liter. Without going to specifics, Yumahasha said, power is very good and the fuel economy will be very good, which, yeah, that's one of the things where most car enthusiasts don't give a damn about fuel economy. It's one of those things where, one of the engineers at General Motors, actually, no, I think it's Bob Lutz, one of the CEOs or presidents, firmly said, talking about fuel economy sports cars like a kosher pork chop. It's like, it doesn't really exist. Though I would argue my Honda Civic 2018 Civic Si with a stick shift and turbo from the factory, I mean, if I go slow, I can get 52 mile per gallon on the highway. Still got 205 horsepower. Well, 206 with the K&N cold air intake, but it's still a fun track toy and it's pretty darn good. I still think that's the best of both worlds, but again, given how small this car is and how lightweight it is, should still get good fuel economy, which, again, if you have a budget car, it's kind of nice to have, although I know diehard enthusiasts will say, who gives a damn? It's all about more power, more engine, more fun. It is kind of nice to have, especially in a down economy where, shoot, if I need to drive 60 miles to meet a customer, I can get there just a skosh more than a gallon. That's pretty nice. Now, they say, quote, actually, let's get something on the screen that's more rare than just a car. That's a nice angle too. But look at that beautiful stick shift. 6 gears of glory. And you know what I like? They have that not a lot of cars have? A manual actual parking brake. We just yank it up. Most of them, I hate that about my current Honda, actually. Oh, my 2018 Honda. You have a little anemic, almost like a window switch for the parking brake. I hate that. I love the pull brake. I know the Nissan 400 or the Nissan Z right now also has that combo of stick shift and pull handle for parking brake or emergency brake. Great for fun and drifting too. But again, that's very rare, but Mazda knows their customers. They know they're going to like that. Now, again, they say, quote, the current Miata tops out 181 horsepower. Not to brag, but my Honda Civic has 205. Well, 207. Although it's kind of funny, like, it's still hard to pass the Miata. Oh, I can pass them a little bit easy on the straightaways at the track. It's the BRZ, Toyota 86, where you got to fight back and forth to really pass each other. But I partially digress. They say, although recently Japan got the slightly more potent 12R version with 197 horsepower, Mazda CTO explains that keeping displacement at 2 while switching to the Lambada 1 combustion method would result in lower output. That's not going to happen. As the Skyactiv Z has been engineered as a larger 2.5-liter unit, Lambada refers to the air-fuel equivalence ratio. The amount of air is perfectly balanced with the fuel during the combustion. This optimizes efficiency to reduce emissions and improve fuel consumption, which can't help but think they're also doing that for the government. But nevertheless, they say, quote, because Mazda knows the Miata audience well, the new gas engine will be paired with a manual gearbox. It's reassured to hear that the clutch pedal is staying, especially with the growing prevalence of mandated driver assistance and safety features from nanny state bureaucratic, evil, totalitarian globalist governments. Okay, I obviously added that last part. Now, they also know that, again, a lot of those variables contribute to cars having to have an automatic transmission. And they say, quote, as for a purely electric MX-5, the Zoom company is studying it, but admits that it's heavier than the gas model. Who wants an EV Miata anyway? No one on the planet except the 2 idiots in San Francisco. An EV Miata is the dumbest idea since Porsche said we're gonna bend over for the EU mandates and we'll make an electric Cayman. So stupid. Your core buyers don't like it, don't want it. And again, these things are fun track toys. You can't use electric cars at most tracks. 1, because they don't have the fire suppressant technology or the insurance to cover it. And 2, recharge time between the sessions, just not feasible with today's technology. Always have to have that caveat because it could be a magical new battery tomorrow. But again, that's with the current technology we have right now. Now, they also said it's still unclear whether some form of electrification is in the pipeline from the new Miata. Given Mazda's promise to keep car small and lightweight, we're inclined to believe that they won't overcomplicate things. A multi-hybrid setup could be a possibility, but the weight penalty would still be there. A fully hybrid, let alone a plug-in hybrid, would be much more difficult to meet the targeted curb weight. Now, they continue saying, quote, whatever Mazda is planning for the next Miata, we're hoping the 2-liter engine will make it to Europe. As its refreshers ND currently sold only in the smaller 1.5-liter after the 2.0 was dropped due to stricter emissions from the totalitarian European Union. Okay, I obviously added that last part. Now, they say that assuming the next gen will have 48-volt tech, it would increase the odds of seeing a sporty roadster in the EU called a necessary evil. Or just vote differently and grow a spine. Most Europeans can't or don't, it seems. But yeah, you want to know why vehicles are getting so bad in Europe? Governments are forcing them to be that. Now let's quote. When is the next MX-5 coming out? Probably not anytime soon. The ND3 has been around since 2024, so it's likely to have a couple more years left in it. Mazda is set to roll out a new car, the Skyactiv Z engine, in late 2027, starting with the hybrid CX-5. This new four-cylinder engine being developed to meet Euro 7 regulations in Europe, as well as the Lev 3 and Tier 4 emission standards in North America. Yeah. So again, a little boring in terms of, the European, the sadness over there. They might make something, subpar. But again, still good news that, there's still fun. There's still a couple pure enthusiast sports cars out there. And man, the more I learn about Miata, the more I wish I bought one years ago. Used to be able to get them for a couple grand on Craigslist. And talk about a lost opportunity. If you want a fun track toy, you really can't beat a Miata. I mean, there's this whole section of racing called Spec Miata. They're the craziest SOBs you ever meet. They go balls to the wall, so to say. And pretty cheap consumables for brake pads, tires, oil change, like all the things that wear out quickly at the track. They're relatively cheap, especially compared to competitive different types of cars. So yeah, if you're looking for a fun track toy, can't beat the Mazda Miata. And hopefully, I mean, thanks to this news, sounds like we'll have that option for that third pedal for many years to come. And again, if you want to keep that pedal around, go ahead and buy it new. You're going to pay a premium for a new car, obviously. This is definitely not financial advice because it's financially terrible, but it sends a direct message to the manufacturers that we love the third pedal, want to keep it alive, and it makes it financially viable for them so that they actually will. But let me know your thoughts in the comments because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so you can click that button. I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.